we have with us on the line right now. He is with the Retail Association of Nevada, obviously an industry that is mightily struggling. All local businesses are struggling right now, certainly retail, and his name is Bryan Wachter, and he joins us right now on the line. Bryan, I appreciate you coming on. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me this morning.
Sure, you bet. So I guess my first question would be a loaded question. Your thoughts on Governor Sisolak, your thoughts on what he's done in the retail industry and local business. Do you think he's going about it the right way? What would you say to Steve Sisolak right now?
Well, we would say that we appreciate, I think, the cautious optimism that he showed yesterday at the press conference. I believe wholeheartedly that he and all of our elected officials want the economy back up and running. They're not keeping us closed because, there's a reason or an ill intent, but really making sure that we have the testing capacity to be able to accurately predict where the disease might head, and then making sure that we have the hospital capacity to deal with any kind of sudden surge. We saw today on the state reported numbers our largest increase in the last 3 weeks. That could be because of testing, but it also could, signify that the virus is still there. So we appreciate how cautiously we're moving, and we're excited to begin looking at these phases.
Bryan, I appreciate you saying that because, listen, you're with the Retail Association of Nevada, and you could have come on the radio today and you could have said, he's doing a horrible job. He's doing it for political reasons. They want to get Donald Trump out of office. There's some people on the right, and I know you don't speak for them, but there are some on the right that are using those type of talking points. I'm just saying I appreciate the fact that you're kind of echoing exactly what I'm saying. It's not like he wants you to suffer, right? He's trying to be cautious about it and be responsible about it because, as I'm sure you would agree, if we opened up all retail today and the virus started to spread again, which could be a possibility, there's no going back, right? We have one shot at getting this right. Is that how you feel, Bryan, about this as well?
Well, we're very concerned about some sort of kind of reemergence or growth. We think, for our small guys, holding on for as long as they have these last, 50 days or so, not being able to open. Some of them have had the cash flow to be able to keep their employees on. A lot of them haven't. And being able to reopen is going to be a life or death kind of situation for these businesses. We also, I think, have to recognize that the market and consumers are going to dictate a lot of that behavior. Government, can essentially say we're reopened, but we've been monitoring consumer behavior during this entire process, and consumers are still very cautious. The majority of our folks that we surveyed would still list this on a scale of 1 to 9 as an 8. So they are concerned. So I think customers and consumers are going to ultimately make the decision as to what they feel comfortable doing when. Mm-hmm. And to that end, I will say we appreciate the cautiousness, but there are some things we think government could be doing to help us reopen, maybe more efficiently or with a lot more confidence that what we're going to be doing is going to work and is going to have some economic gain.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Bryan Wachter from the Retail Association of Nevada. So Bryan, how do you think this is going to work out? For any type of retail store, even like a clothing store, something like that, are we going to have like a number, only an amount of people are allowed in the store at one time? Do you think there's going to be like curbside shopping? What do you think we're going to see from day one when some of these stores are partially allowed to open?
Well, we're really, that starts today, actually. The governor did, remove some of those restrictions on retailers that weren't open that can be able to provide kind of a curbside experience.
Like alcohol?
For their customers, like alcohol. But now, essentially any store now can engage in curbside practices as long as they're maintaining the guidelines from OSHA as well as the CDC and then the state health department. And so really it's going to be how do these customers spend the next 2 weeks getting to that level of infrastructure so that can be maintained as a big core part of their business as we start allowing, maybe a few people into a store at a time. And that's all going to be, I think, really about how businesses themselves on an individual level are going to be able to play within the set of rules that they're going to be given.
Bryan, given the uniqueness, of course, of what we have here in Las Vegas and in the state of Nevada, that a lot of our economy is obviously driven by hospitality and the gaming industry, and we've seen the phasing program that has been put out there by Governor Sisolak and our leaders here. Do you anticipate that we're going to end up on the back end of the phases as far as a major part of our economy, right? I mean, when you talk about hotels, when you talk about casinos, when you talk about restaurants and bars, we have so many that are a monster part of what we do here in this part of the country and here in Las Vegas and here in Nevada. Do you think that basically the back end of the phases is where we're going to start really opening up these establishments?
Well, we have to remember that in Clark County, in Las Vegas, on any given month, tourists usually outnumber residents.
Right.
And so the question is going to be, when can we get back to, kind of a full economy or full economic activity when we rely so heavily on folks coming into the state? So we can do all that we can do in Nevada, making sure, and we're looking at the leadership, and I think it's been awesome from the resorts on what they're doing to make sure that their customers feel safe and confident in order to be able to travel. But I think that's why Nevada is looking at such a long recovery period, regardless of what we do in these phases or when, because it's actually going to come down to, is worldwide travel back enough that folks are feeling comfortable and confident to begin picking up those activities?
Yeah, and I don't think it's going to be worldwide travel. It's going to be domestic travel. That's what Vegas is going to focus on advertising-wise over the next 6 to 12 months. But as you know, 99% of businesses in Nevada are small businesses, and only 3.2% of those small businesses have actually gotten loans from the Small Business Association that have been issued by the government, the $600 billion that has been issued collectively so far. What do you think that is going to do to the numbers for the retail industry over the next, we'll call it 2 years?
Well, for the PPP program, we have members that are in kind of every stage of this particular process. So we have members that have still been unable to even get a relationship with a bank to be able to apply to the SBA loan. We've got folks that have relationships with banks that now have applied to the SBA and are waiting from them. We have folks that have been approved by the SBA but haven't been funded, and we're starting to see members now that have been funded from these loans. And so we're able to kind of see the experience that our members are going through at each stage, and then ultimately what they're doing now that it's kind of quote-unquote worked. And our members have experienced problems at every level. And the folks that have been funded are coming across and finding it difficult to increase their workforce or bring it up. As those loans, there's an employee census on June 30th that has to match your employee census from February in order for those loans to be forgiven. And we're experiencing now where companies are having a difficult time getting enough employees to meet those requirements.
How many of those companies, in your opinion, are phase 3 or would be considered, phase 3, phase 4 companies that open up under those circumstances? And if this lasts another 2 or 3 months, will that money that they're given from the federal government even support them through that time?
Well, we have, from the retail industry, we have members at every size of the industry and at every different walk. So for those, our salons, our hairdressers, our barbershops, those that are going to be kind of pushed back into maybe more of those phase 2 areas, that is going to be, much more difficult. And whether or not those loans can carry them over, that long is really going to just be depending on time. So we do anticipate that there will be additional stress on small businesses the longer we go back. But we think that stress is less than if we opened up and then had to reclose again.
I think we all can agree we'd rather those businesses receive some help and some loans than the LA Lakers, but I guess that's another story for another show. Bryan, I really do appreciate you taking the time to join us. Sounds like you're doing a great job with the Retail Association. We appreciate your perspective, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bryan.
Thanks for the time.